From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And today we are going to be diving into some cues. That's right, with the Acolyte behind us for now. Our deep dives into that series are still there for you to enjoy and catch up with, but we want to get back to answering some questions from all of you here. We'll be doing that shortly. We got some from our wonderful Patreon supporters, but we also want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. And today we are recommending The Living Force by Jonathan Jackson Miller. If you want to hear and read the adventures of Caddy Mundy and Ice Flavored Ice, this is the book for you. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audio book. A great look at the pre-Phantom Menace Jedi Council. From our Audible A to our Ask A, Joseph, we've got this Ask going right now.
That is right. We are focusing again on our Patreon. We really appreciate everybody who has been there, everybody who is newer to jumping on board. We would love to get back up to 400 paid subscribers. Looking back over the years at the different ways that ForceCenter has made money to stay afloat and to grow, Patreon has always been the most consistent. So we always want to make sure that we are paying attention to the absolute backbone of what makes the show possible, and that is everybody on Patreon. And that is why we take cues from our patrons on Patreon for these Q episodes as well. So if you can help us get to 400 paid subscribers, that would be great. Sometimes when we have a goal, we have, hey, when we get to 400 paid subscribers, we'll do X. But right now, hey, when we get to 400 paid subscribers, Jennifer will finish her finals. I will do my birthday show. Ken will travel and finish his other commitments. Ken will take the dog for a walk. We will all survive. If we can get to 400 paid subscribers, we'll survive, and then hopefully have a conversation about more fun rewards that we can offer. We'd love doing this, and we'd love to be able to do more as we balance everything else.
Indeed. Yeah. The realities, but hey, 10 years strong. This has been so much fun, and that is all because of you out there. So can you continue supporting if you are, and maybe consider, as Joseph said, going to patreon.com/ForceCenter. All right. Today we got some questions. Joseph, we got 2 today, and you're going to take us through them. And first up is our buddy Marco.
That is right. Marco wrote in, and we're still going through a lot of the questions on Patreon that you have all put forward, so we'll be getting to those. But today, Marco asks, why does Luke wear black after he becomes a Jedi? I always believed he wore it in Return of the Jedi in order to make the audience wonder if he might turn to the dark side, and in particular, for that scene near the end where he looks at Vader's hand and then at his own. When he turns up in Mando in Book of Boba Fett still in black, I feel that was an error, says Marco. Were the creators worried that fans would need to see him still in black to make him more easily connected to the original trilogy? The lighter robes he wears at the end of The Force Awakens seem more fitting for a Jedi Master. I've nothing against the color black personally. It's very flattering, particularly on older gents like myself. It's just in the Star Wars world, black coats tend to be only worn by Sith and Sithy characters. This is not only, in my opinion, a fascinating discussion of what Luke's clothing means for him about his character and his evolution, but also maybe some diving into why do you see so many older gentlemen wearing black shirts at conventions, just like Ken and I are doing here today.
And always do, yes.
Anyway, Jennifer, where do you start with this question? What are your thoughts on Luke in the black and how long he stays in the black outfit?
I really like the black outfit. And it's hard for me to go back in time to experiencing it when I watched it the first time. But I kind of have a general idea of when I was a kid and how cool it was, right? Once you kind of see the character's evolution and Luke shows up in Return of the Jedi, it's like, oh, he's badass. He's wearing like this black, like priest-like outfit. But I always thought that his robe was black. Until there was an article recently that said, no, his robe was brown. And I'm like, I've seen that movie hundreds, thousands of times. I just saw it in the movie theater. And for some reason, my mind turned it as black. I don't know. Anyways, I think it's impactful. I really do. Although there could be some, thing that behind the scenes reason why they chose black.
Mm-hmm.
Is there? I don't know.
I think some of the color coding of the original trilogy is not subtle. Outside of the stormtroopers, the stormtroopers are monochromatic and flat, but other than that, everything is coded. Especially in that first film was very straightforward. Luke and Obi-Wan are in earth tones and white. So Leia is all in white. Vader is all in black. Han is the big moral question of the film of what will he choose. He's black and white, and I do think I agree with Marco. I think a part of the costume design choice is to make the audience feel like could Luke make a bad decision? Could he fall to the dark side? I do think that was a very impactful choice in 1983, because for a long time in film, that color coding was, I think, a little bit more common, a little bit more sacrosanct. John Wayne was not going to be wearing a black cowboy hat, unless it's a film about him failing, unless it's a film where maybe you're dabbling with an anti-hero, which generally didn't happen. Heroes were heroes and villains were villains outside of a lot of films. And being alive in the 80s, it was a part of the anti-hero embracement. It was a part of the desire for the gritty and real that black costumes became really cool. It was only, I believe, a year later in 1984 where Spider-Man, one of the most squeaky clean, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, was given a black costume. I had countless conversations on the playground about which heroes were going to get a black costume and how cool and gritty that was. And I believe 86, Captain America briefly gets a black costume. It was a thing in the 80s, and Luke was a leading front in that, of dealing with the moral complexity of how can the squeaky clean hero be coded as dark, dangerous, edgy by wearing black. So that, I think that starting point is really valid and really interesting. Ken, what are your thoughts about Luke's black costume and its history and its effect on you?
Yeah, Marco, I love everywhere you go in this conversation. And yeah, someone who switched to black shirts, it's pretty much all my closet. There's a reason why. When the shirt starts to stretch, you must wear black. That's not a bumper sticker, just true. Look, I think there's a lot of truth to the decision-making process. Everything you're saying, both of you are saying, is just wonderful, and what they were thinking going into that film, and the question about Luke, who he had become. I mean, let's not forget, he also starts the film with 2 force chokes. Imagine the discourse today. If we were Luke force choked, oh my God. And that was part of the fun. And let's not forget Mark Hamill's idea of he wanted him to be a punk rock, scarred, messed up, super buff, earring, like skull earrings. One of Mark's many wonderful Star Wars ideas he's had over the years.
The Mad Max Luke look, yeah.
Yeah, maybe take his ideas with a grain of salt sometimes. But I think very intentional, and I think it was effective. I definitely think everything you're saying, Joseph, about, John Wayne didn't wear a black hat unless it was after a Playboy interview in the early 70s. Then he does become the bad guy. I think it was very purposeful, and it worked on me. It worked for me as a kid. Now, I didn't, in 1983, it wasn't like, is he good or bad? It just was like, he's dark and brooding. I think it's kind of a goth Luke. I think that leads to my thoughts of where we go up with the character. Mandalorian, he shows it's a little bit of a different version, right? Maybe it buttons up a little different, but it's black on black. And I kind of think it's goth Luke. And I kind of think Luke's emerging from his hero's journey a little torn, a little broken. It's a little bittersweet. He's still trying, now, who am I? And what did I lose? And I think there's a lot of that going on. And I'd love to see some storytelling, animation, comic books, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Luke's outfit start to change. I'd love to see him get to that ceremonial Jedi robe he wears in Force Awakens, which, as I think the novel explained, or was Jason Fry's novel, we had the explanation of he put that on to properly end the Jedi Order. It was like, let's dress up if we're going to do this, and I would love to see that journey, where Luke became more comfortable with his emotions. Now, not that wearing all black now is sign that you're uncomfortable with your emotions. I'm just gonna put that out there. At least I hope. I think that's a fun journey. Would be a fun journey to track. That he becomes a little bit more open to the colors of the galaxy.
Yeah, and I mean, in the Jedi outfit that he projects to Kratos and that we see him wearing in Rise of Kylo Ren is still a mix of darks and lights.
Yep.
It's not straightforward. Yeah, I kind of maybe Charles Soule is wrestling with it in the comic book of how and when he picked the black. I don't know. I haven't been staying caught up on that. I don't need a why, but I do just kind of like emotionally the idea of, he ran into a brick wall in Empire Strikes Back, and he learned that things are not as simple, and that he wasn't just going to be a hero who beat everybody by fighting. He shouldn't be craving adventure and excitement. It's time to get somber, serious, reflective. These are serious problems. And I love that just mood wise, he'd put on black and be like, I got to take this seriously. In terms of Marco's kind of central question of should he have immediately jumped to the light in his wardrobe, I totally understand that, and I understand the question. I personally do like him staying in the black in Mando and Book of Boba Fett. I like it from the perspective that Ken was talking about, that he passed this trial and he became a Jedi, but there were losses, and it's sad, and he's very slowly rebuilding the Jedi Order very carefully, and I don't mind the idea that he continues to wear black, because it's like I need to be aware that this is somber, this is serious. I could make a misstep as well. I didn't win one fight, and then I'm putting on the blazing white I'm a good guy jersey. I'm going slow and calm and reflective. I also feel like, to Marco's point, I don't think there was any sort of worry that fans wouldn't recognize him. I think fans would have gone nuts if he was wearing, a brown and taupe, Jedi outfit in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. I like that he stayed in the black because it is iconic. It is Luke in that period of his life. It ties him to that era of time. And he does switch it up in Book of Boba Fett. I have the different action figures to prove it. It is a slightly different outfit than his Return of the Jedi one. But I really like that that it's okay to just embrace the iconic. It's an iconic look in that he wouldn't just be rushing right toward the next step in his evolution, but that he's just slowly figuring himself out and wearing his all black closet collection while he's figuring himself in the next steps out. Jennifer, how do you feel about him staying in the black robes in Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett?
I think it's a practical thing. Something about seeing the Jedi in these light-colored robes. It is impractical. If they're going around the galaxy, they're going to get dirty. And so, like, for Luke, he is on these adventures. I'm not going to go wear white pants when I'm hanging out with my kids at the park. Like, I'm going to put on black pants. So I'm going to be prepared to tussle, get dirty, do what I have to do to take care of business. And I feel like for Luke, he's thinking from a practical perspective where he's got to, he can't have the fuss of the white robes, the light colored robes, and have to worry about getting those stains out.
I think this is a very good and practical answer, and I want to pull up. Maybe it'll be the thumbnail of this episode. The shot from Empire Strikes Back where he's sitting down on Dagobah, and there's a large mud stain on his beige butt in those pants. It's like if being a Jedi is going to be squatting in muck on Dagobah all the time, I can't be wearing white or even beige. It's just going to be nothing but laundry, adventure, excitement, laundry. A Jedi craves not these things.
That's exactly
right. Put on black.
Look.
Be practical.
Look, man, he hung out with Yoda and Obi-Wan, and he was probably like, Obi-Wan, I love you, bet, buddy. You got holes in that shoulder there. This clearly used to be a white tunic. It's brown. Like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, I know you're a desert hermit, but head to town. There's got to be someone that can wash these for you. So I think Luke made the decision. I mean, trust me, if you drop as much food as I do on shirts, you need a shirt color that absorbs it as best as it can.
Yep. I love this practical. I want to throw out one other practical thing because we're talking about Luke. But Anakin is growing up in the prequel era in an era of a lot of commonalities of being Jedi robes of brown and taupe in nature. And he's like, no, black leather. A black leather V. That's what I picked out of the Jedi closet. Which is one of those, costume design choices that speaks to the audience. But Ken, how do you feel about the idea that, maybe the Skywalker men just like black? That's their favorite color, and they pick it out and they gravitate toward it. And both Anakin and Luke would be like, "Oh, I didn't mean to signify I was falling to the dark side. just my jam. I think it complements my skin tone."
I think we're in a bit of a fun, goofy mood today on this. I hope, no one wants me to go super deep with this, but I think that's the first Force Ghost conversation Anakin actually had with Luke. Was like, hey, you know what I wore? black. I know, like the Force Ghost Obi-Wan's like, always with the black leather, that one. And I think there's absolutely something to be said for that. And Leia went her own direction. She was like, yeah, I don't know, I can do. I got my mom's fashion sense in me. I'm gonna go to a different direction. I think it kind of works for me. We're having some fun, but it's an iconic look. It's a cool look, and yeah, it's true. Red and black with red accents seem to be the main thrust for Star Wars villain costume decisions. But I think Luke looks good, man. He looks in a space mirror and thinks, "Yeah, I got it. This is not the farm boy. This is something else."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm pulling up great Luke to remind myself. It's dark brown and a beige with a splash of white, but it's always kind of going his own ways with the robes. Jennifer, any final fashion thoughts on Luke Skywalker's love of black?
No, but I'm looking at Crate Luke as well. It is much more practical. See, he's wearing a lot more darker colors because he's ready to get down and dirty. Yeah, I don't know about Anakin with his leather choice. It just does. It seems impractical. It seems like a style choice. Like he just wants to be different. But yeah, there we go.
No, I do think maybe Anakin looked around at all the other Padawans and was like, no, I'm doing something different. I'm the chosen one, and this is my chosen one hot topic outfit. Damn it, says Anakin Skywalker. All right, that is our first question. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to discuss more Jedi choices in just a moment. Here we go, back in a moment. And we have returned on this episode of Cues of the Force. We had a great question from Marco about Luke Skywalker's outfit, and now we're going to talk about Jedi and Padawan and when things go wrong with the Padawans. This comes to us from a Patreon user with the name CT0007-117-2006. A very fun number and name to read. So here's what CT has to say. Hello, y'all. I have a question about the Jedi Order, more specifically, a Master and Padawan. What happens when a Master loses a Padawan to either death or them just leaving the Order in some dramatic fashion? How are they chosen to get another Padawan? And is losing a Padawan looked down upon from the other Jedi as failure? I'm really asking because I've had mentors and totally ignored their advice or counseling and really stepped in it. So I was curious how that works with the Jedi. They could do everything right, and you still end up with the Vader. Jennifer, what are your thoughts on this choice of the Jedi-Padawan relationship, if there's fallout from a Jedi losing a Padawan in any way?
I think that's pretty serious. And I think the Jedi Order would question the Jedi Masters' perhaps judgment or training, and they'd be like, we're gonna have to do an evaluation on you, and we're gonna have, we're gonna do some reports, and it's gonna be some time before you get trusted with having a Padawan again, especially if there's death involved. I don't think that they're going to be rewarded with a new Padawan immediately. I think they're going to be suspended, if you will.
And do you think that's right? Do you think that's
yes,
that is the Jedi protocol? It's a good one?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's like, with anything, if you were to lose anything, any inanimate object, I'm not going to trust you with my inanimate object again, let alone a person. So sorry, them's the breaks. But I'm sure that there's an in-universe explanation that I'm missing, so apologies.
I don't think there's one concrete thing. I think it's just lots of different storytelling across, I'm not aware of any specific Jedi code in any book. It's a couple of specific stories that I think might be relevant. But Ken, what are your overall thoughts?
Well, I was going to one of those in my mind this morning. I apologize. I was going to look up the comic series of the young Obi-Wan and Anakin Adventures series that I remember was a 4 or 5 issue run. And I remember not completely loving it, but some of the best stuff in it was what Obi-Wan was going through with the possibility of Anakin leaving. Because I think young teenage Anakin kind of is like, I'm out of here. I'm packing my bags. I'm out of here. And they went through a lot of things, and Obi-Wan and Yoda had a conversation. I apologize because I was going to look this up today, maybe even pull the comics from a collection, but I had to pay a Burbank parking ticket, and it took a while this morning online. Reality hits ForceCenter straight in the face. But it was, I remember, Obi-Wan was emotional over it. There's some ideas of him maybe having to pack his bags too if this kind of thing happened. And And I like that. I like that that puts what the crunchy details can be filled in the comments down below or in further conversations. But I like that it would have some sort of weight in how the failure happened or how the loss of the Padawan happened. Yeah, death, if it's in combat and it's all on the up and up, so to speak, it'd be tragic. But how could you blame them for that? But if it was something in their training, something in their mentorship, yeah, I think you'd want to look at that. And some Jedi are probably better at that than others. And how do you even go on? We've seen a Jedi, Vernestra Rowe has a Padawan. By the time we pick up with her with Acolyte, she's named her ship after the Padawan, and there's something to that. You know what I mean? And I would want it to be taken this serious. But at the same time, in a more lighthearted approach, I'd love, Jen, what you're kind of suggesting if the Jedi Council has a review session. You come on in. This is an employee evaluation. In fact, you filled out your Jedi Master self-evaluation form. We're going to talk about your answers about why you lost your Padawan. But I would like to see it overall, something that's treated with importance, but a case-by-case basis on what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a little bit of the storytelling we've got, it's like, for me, what you're saying, Ken, of like, the Jedi self review form is in some ways the most important part, because that is the nature of being a Jedi. To be a Jedi is to live an examined life, and when something goes wrong, to ask yourself, is this was it a horrible accident, or did I do something? Am I at risk of doing it again? Why did I do this? Do I need to take the Baresh vow? Do I need to? Right. Was it not my fault, and I need to get back on the horse and get another Padawan so I don't give in to fear? Or did I really make a mistake, and I need to say, hey, council, please review me and punish me? And I feel like the other Jedi would only start to get real judgmental if you lost a Padawan, or a Padawan left or fell to the dark side, and you're like, it happens, it's a Tuesday, and the Jedi was showing no desire for self-examination. That's when I feel like Caddy Money's like, come on in for a talk. The stories that came to my mind in particular was the great Claudia Gray book, Master and Apprentice. Yeah. Which is a little bit about the rocky relationship between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, but also features Dooku's first Padawan, Rael Averross, who does lose his Padawan to death and clearly spirals from it and doesn't really ever recover from it. So I think it's been a while since I read that book, but I think that's a great picture of somebody who was like kind of self-punished, and maybe not even in a healthy way. Yeah. I think one of the sort of less explored bits of storytelling is in Star Wars is, Dooku was a full-on Jedi Master. He wasn't a Padawan, but, no one seemed to blame Yoda when Dooku walked away or fell to the dark side. So I think it has to be entirely based on the situation of did the mentor truly fail the Padawan in some way? I think it's important that Kenobi feels he failed Anakin. Yeah. And he is taking responsibility and inviting us to ask, well, what did he do wrong? What should he have done better? All those kind of things. Jennifer, how do you feel about we always ask when we put forward these Patreon questions of, if there's a reason you're asking, if you're asking about your favorite character, your favorite movie, or there's a real world thing for people to share why they're asking. So these questions, go beyond the Star Wars lore to, a real discussion of humanity. And I think that's what CT was doing here by saying that they are asking because they have had the experience of ignoring their mentors and having some failures as a result of it. So how do you feel about the real world aspect of this? What is the end of the mentor's responsibility? And at what point does the mentor just have to say, I've given all this counsel, and now, an adult or a near adult needs to make a decision?
I think that when it comes to that relationship, it depends on the mentor and really what do they want out of it? Do they really want to help you? Or are they there to support you? Because if they are, then they know there are going to be failures, and they will be there when you come back and say, that didn't work out. I should have listened to you. And they're still there, and they're a good friend, so to speak, right? And then there are mentors that are like, listen, I have no ties to you. You didn't take my advice. We are done. And that's terrible. I would hope that that would not be the case, because it's just like everyone's going to make their own choices. We're all going to do our own thing. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But that's how we learn oftentimes, by making these choices. And so I don't know. I'm sorry that that happened to you. But I know I've had one mentor that really tried to steer me in one direction. And I was like, I'm going to be an actor. And she was like, okay, bye. and now I was like, oh man, I really should have listened to her. She had some really great advice, but I was a 23-year-old who totally ignored it. And so, that's how it sometimes can work out. But maybe you'll find a better mentor who will stick by you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's what I'm affected by, of having, some good mentors, having maybe some not great mentors or some checked out mentors, and then getting to the age of myself where there's somebody younger than me, who I feel like is maybe struggling with some of the things I struggled with, and wanting to say, hey, can I tell you what happened to me? And maybe it's relevant to you or not. Take it or leave it. Maybe my path is your path. Maybe it isn't. And for me, that's the value of mentorship, is to say, I'm giving you this advice. I'm giving you this experience. Maybe even some of it is colored by my own experience. And then let the person make the choices that they're going to make. I think that's the danger of mentorship, when it can suddenly, I think that's when young people get bad mentorship, is when the mentor makes it about themselves, of like, I went down this path and I want to correct on someone else, or I want this person to be a feather in my cap. I want them to take this path so that I can, brag about it at parties. I think that goes back to the Jedi failure of like, are the Jedi trying to shape a little mini me in their Padawan, or they're trying to go like, what's your path and how can I help you get there? And how much can a mentor take themselves out of it? Ken, what are your thoughts on real life mentor experiences?
Yeah, I've had good ones. I've had bad ones. I've been a good one. I've been a bad one. And I think of those cases, especially in my old job, where I still have some folks, some former employees, who seek me out for more life advice. I had one quote me to myself, and I was like, who said that? He's like, you, in 2009, to me. Remember that? It's like, no, I don't. But I also have some folks in my past where I think I let them down, because I just let them. I stood back while they gave in to their worst instincts, and I didn't. It wasn't about correcting it, but about saying, hey, maybe we can find a different way. But it is that balance of you. I don't want you to, I often say to those friends of mine who are younger, like, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. But that kind of can lean into what you both are talking about of I wish I could correct it, so please correct my life for me through your life. You don't want to do that. It is about letting them become who they are supposed to be. And my experiences is with mentors, but Jen, you being a parent, I'm sure that's a constant daily struggle of letting them become who they're supposed to be, but knowing you are hardwired by me. I know. So I'm trying to give you pitfalls to avoid. It's a balance. So yeah, I think it works well with Jen. I think the master and apprentice relationship in Star Wars is one of the more valuable things in its storytelling, about how do generations truly pass the baton to the next one? What are the good ways? What are the pitfalls? And do they become Darth Vader? Big questions. Big questions.
Yeah, and I think with the actual storytelling of Star Wars with Kenobi, I love that Kenobi does express, I made mistakes, and I think you can look at he was aware of the attachment to Padme, and he was aware he should have a conversation, and didn't have as open of a conversation. I think Kenobi was young and didn't really want to be a parent type master. He wanted to be a brother type master, and is more comfortable once you're like, hey, we're just buds. You're my brother you're my younger brother that I lecture every once in a while. So Kenobi spends a lot of time beating himself up, but I do think that the story of Star Wars is, Anakin could have used more help and better guidance, and maybe it would have been better off with Qui-Gon. But at the end of the day, in this sort of mentor type role, it is still the student's choice. And for me, I think that's valuable for real life. Of if there's a younger person who wants my advice, I want to give it to them, but then I want them to make their own choice, because that's how you become an adult. Yeah. Any final thoughts on mentorship inside or outside of Star Wars, Ken?
Give it a go, but I don't know. I'm in a period of my life where I'm like, I don't know if I'm the best mentor because I think I need another round of mentors in my life.
Jennifer, any final thoughts for yourself?
If you ask someone advice and they spend a long time writing up everything that you could be doing, and then you just kind of ignore it and then go back to them and say, "Oh wait, so tell me again about acting classes." It's like, "Oh, I don't want to help you." So take the advice seriously, at least try your best. And then if it doesn't work out, you can go back and say, "Hey, it didn't work out. What can I do next?"
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a great way to look at a mentor too. Like they should absolutely still be there for you when the younger person doesn't take the advice, falls, and then not to the dark side, but then can come back to the mentor, and the mentor can still be like, "Yeah, I got some other advice too." Is absolutely wonderful. All right, thank you both to CT and Marco for those great Jedi related questions. Ken, you want to take us home?
I do. As my studio hits 100 degrees and you can see me sweating, this has been Force Center. We're on social media at Force Center Pod, Instagram as well. Our Facebook page is Force Center Podcast. And you can find us as a podcast anywhere. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/Force Center. And you can support us directly at patreon.com/Force Center. Follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com. I have ticket information. I have a shop where I'm selling things. Oh, it's a whole world of just fun over there. I'm currently in Little Rock, Arkansas, doing a series of shows with Mark Ellis at the Looney Bin in Little Rock. If you're local or can make that 12-hour drive, come on out. But more importantly, I'm really excited to get back and appear on Joseph Scrimshaw's birthday show, August 16th, a fun comedy variety night. I don't do a great job explaining what you have planned, Joseph, so you can do it.
That's because I haven't fully communicated to you what I have planned other than your comedy set. So it's going to be a comedy variety show. It is going to be a fun celebrating and coping with the reality of getting older. I'm celebrating a big birthday on Saturday, August 17th. And my favorite thing is always the day after a show. So I'm having a show the night before. Friday, August 16th, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. If you are local to Los Angeles, please come and join us live in the theater. But if not, you can live stream it anywhere on the internet. And you can get tickets to either the live in person or the live on the internet version of the tickets on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. You can also find me on all the various social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. Jennifer, where can people find you?
You can find me on all the social media sites at Jennifer Landa or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
There you go. That's it. Get all that information. Go out there. Get those tickets. We'll see you there. That's it. Thanks for the questions. Bye.